I'm Rachel and I'm 32 years old. I need you to understand something before I tell you what happened to me. I need you to know that the person you trust most in this world, the person who promised to protect you, can become the person who tries to destroy you. And when that happens, when your husband throws you down a flight of stairs while you're 6 months pregnant, you learn something about survival that no one teaches you in school. But here's what they don't tell you about monsters. They're not afraid of you, they're afraid of witnesses. And my 6-year-old daughter, Emma, became the witness that would destroy him completely. What happened on that Tuesday afternoon in March, what my husband David did to me while our daughter watched from the hallway, should have killed me and my unborn son. But what happened 3 months later in that courtroom, when Emma's small voice filled the room and a video started playing on the screen, that's what killed him instead. Not literally, though I'm sure he wishes it had. What happened to David was so much worse than death. It was justice. My name is Rachel Morrison. I'm a physical therapist in Seattle, Washington. I used to think I had a good life, a beautiful home in Queen Anne, a thriving practice, a husband who worked in commercial real estate, and 2 children I loved more than breathing. Emma was 6 years old, bright and sensitive, with her father's dark hair and my blue eyes, and I was 6 months pregnant with our son, a baby we'd planned and wanted and already named Jacob. David and I had been married for 8 years. Looking back now with clear eyes, I can see the signs I missed, the way he needed to know where I was every moment, the way he'd check my phone, my emails, my patient schedule, the way he isolated me from friends, making excuses why we couldn't see them, creating tension until it was easier to just stay home, the way his voice would drop to that dangerous whisper when I disagreed with him about anything. But it had been gradual, so slow I didn't notice the walls closing in until there was no air left to breathe. He never hit me. That's what I told myself. He never hit me, so it wasn't abuse. He just had a temper. He just got stressed about work. He just needed things a certain way, and if I could be better, more accommodating, more perfect, everything would be fine. Then I got pregnant with Jacob, and something shifted. David became obsessed with money. He talked constantly about expenses, about how another child would drain our resources, about how I'd have to cut back my practice hours, about how we'd have to sacrifice. It made no sense. My practice was successful. His real estate commissions were substantial. We weren't wealthy, but we were comfortable. But David's paranoia about money intensified throughout my pregnancy. He started monitoring every purchase, questioning every expense. He took control of our bank accounts, gave me an allowance like I was a child. When I protested, he said he was protecting our family's future, that I was too emotional to make financial decisions while pregnant. I started noticing other things. Late-night phone calls he'd take in his car, unexplained absences, claimed business dinners that he never invited me to anymore, cologne I didn't buy him, receipts for jewelry I never received. The classic signs, so obvious now, completely invisible to me then, because I was exhausted from carrying a baby, caring for Emma, working full-time, and trying to be the perfect wife to a man whose standards kept rising. Before I tell you about that day, before I describe the moment my husband's hands connected with my chest, and I felt myself falling backward down 14 hardwood stairs, before I tell you about the terror in my daughter's eyes, and the blood, and the overwhelming certainty that I was about to lose my son, I need you to do something for me right now. I need you to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I love hearing from you, and if this story resonates with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because what I'm about to tell you could save someone's life. The day everything shattered was a Tuesday in March. Emma had a half day at school because of parent-teacher conferences. I'd taken the afternoon off to spend time with her, something that had become rare because David demanded I work more hours to save money while simultaneously criticizing me for not being home enough. I couldn't win. That was the point. Emma and I had spent a lovely afternoon together. We'd made cookies, read stories, played dress-up. She was so excited about becoming a big sister. She'd talked to my belly, telling Jacob about all the things they'd do together. She'd made him drawings to hang in the nursery. She was pure love and innocence, and she trusted that her world was safe. David came home at 5:30, earlier than usual. I should have recognized the danger in that. He walked in, and immediately I felt the temperature drop. His jaw was clenched. His eyes were cold. He threw his briefcase on the entry table hard enough to make Emma jump. I was in the kitchen finishing dinner. Emma ran to hug him, but he barely acknowledged her, just patted her head absently and told her to go play in her room. The dismissal hurt her. I saw it in her face, but she obeyed like she always did, retreating upstairs while casting worried glances back at us. "Rough day?" I asked, keeping my voice light and pleasant. This was the game. Keep everything smooth. Don't provoke. Don't question. He didn't answer. He went to the liquor cabinet and poured himself a large whiskey. That was never a good sign. David drank when he was angry, and alcohol made him mean. David, talk to me. What's wrong? He turned slowly, and the look in his eyes made my stomach clench. What's wrong? What's wrong, Rachel, is that I just found out you've been hiding money from me. I had no idea what he was talking about. What? I'm not hiding anything. Don't lie to me. His voice was that dangerous quiet. I checked your clinic's bank account. There's $15,000 more than you reported to me. $15,000 you didn't tell me about. My mind raced. Then I understood. David, that's not hidden money. That's the account for business expenses, payroll, equipment. It's not personal income. It's money that belongs to this family. Money you kept secret from me. It's not secret. It's how businesses work. You know that. You have business accounts too. His face went red. Don't you dare compare your little therapy practice to my career. I bring in real money. You play with people's joints and make enough for groceries. The contempt in his voice stung, but I pushed down my anger. I was 6 months pregnant, my back ached, I was tired, and I did not have the energy for this fight. Can we not do this tonight? I made your favorite dinner. Let's just have a nice evening. A nice evening, he laughed, a harsh bark. With my lying wife who's been stealing from me? I haven't stolen anything. That money isn't even accessible for personal use. It's legally required to be separate. You think I'm stupid? You think I don't know what you're doing? He moved closer, backing me against the counter. You're preparing to leave me. You're hiding assets so you can take my children and run. That's insane. I'm not leaving you. I'm not hiding anything. Liar! He grabbed my arm, his fingers digging in hard enough to bruise. You've been planning this, haven't you? Get pregnant, take me for everything I'm worth, destroy me. David, you're hurting me. Please let go. Oh, I'm hurting you. His grip tightened. You're hurting me, Rachel. You and this baby you're carrying. You're destroying everything I've built. The words hit me like ice water. This baby? You mean your son? The child we planned together? His eyes flickered to my swollen belly, and what I saw there wasn't love or pride. It was resentment. Pure, undisguised resentment. I never wanted another kid, he said quietly. You manipulated me into it. You stopped your birth control without telling me. That's not true. We discussed it for months. You said you wanted Jacob. I said what you wanted to hear because you wouldn't shut up about it. But another kid means more expenses, more of your attention going somewhere else, more years of being trapped in this marriage. The truth was coming out now, ugly and raw. Trapped? You feel trapped? What do you think? You got pregnant with Emma and I did the right thing. I married you. I gave you this house, this life. And you've given me nothing but demands and criticism and now another mouth to feed. I felt tears burning in my eyes. If you're so unhappy, why didn't you just leave? And let you take half of everything, let you turn my daughter against me, let you collect child support from 2 kids? He shoved me away and I stumbled, catching myself on the counter. No, I've been smarter than that. Something in his tone made my blood run cold. What does that mean? He smiled, and it was the cruelest expression I'd ever seen on his face. It means I've been documenting everything. Your mood swings, your irresponsibility, your inability to manage money. When the time comes, no judge will give you custody. You'll be lucky to get supervised visitation. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. This was planned. He'd been building a case against me, laying groundwork to take my children. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. You think you're so smart with your little business account? I've been 3 steps ahead of you this whole time. He moved toward the stairs. I'm done with this conversation. I'm going to change. He started up the stairs and I followed, my mind reeling. David, we need to talk about this. You can't just drop a bomb like that and walk away. Watch me. We have to figure this out. For Emma's sake, for Jacob's sake. He spun around at the top of the stairs, his face twisted with rage. Don't you dare use my children to manipulate me. Our children, they're our children. They're mine. This house is mine. Your practice is half mine. Everything you think you have, I can take away. He stepped toward me and I instinctively stepped back, forgetting I was at the top of the stairs. My heel caught the edge and I wobbled, my hand going to my belly to protect Jacob. David's hand shot out and for a split second, I thought he was going to catch me, going to steady me. Instead, his palm connected with my chest and he pushed. Hard. Time slowed down. I saw his face, saw the cold calculation in his eyes. This wasn't rage. This wasn't an accident. He wanted me to fall. I felt myself going backward, felt my feet leave the floor. I twisted, trying to land on my side, trying to protect my stomach. The stairs rushed up to meet me, and then pain exploded through my body as I tumbled down, my back and shoulders and hips slamming into hardwood. I screamed. I screamed for my baby, screamed from pain, screamed in terror. I hit the landing halfway down, and my head cracked against the wall. The world blurred. I kept falling, rolling, unable to stop the momentum. When I finally stopped at the bottom, sprawled on the hardwood floor of the entryway, I couldn't breathe. The pain was everywhere, radiating from my back, my head, my stomach. I curled around my belly, my hands desperately trying to feel movement, trying to find any sign that Jacob was okay. "Jacob," I sobbed. "Please, baby, please be okay." I heard footsteps on the stairs, slow, measured footsteps. David walked down like a man without a care in the world, stepping over me like I was garbage on the floor. "You should be more careful," he said calmly. "Pregnant women shouldn't rush around on stairs. You could hurt yourself." I looked up at him through tears and pain, and I saw a stranger. This man who I'd loved, who I'd married, who I'd built a life with, was looking down at me with absolute indifference. No concern, no remorse, just cold satisfaction. "You pushed me," I whispered. "Did I? I don't remember that. I remember you losing your balance and falling. Such a tragic accident." He crouched down beside me. "Here's what's going to happen, Rachel. You're going to tell the doctors you fell. You're going to recover, hopefully. If you lose the baby, well, that's unfortunate, but probably for the best given our financial situation. And you're going to remember that if you ever try to leave me, if you ever accuse me of anything, I will destroy you in court. I have 8 years of documentation showing you're mentally unstable. I'll get full custody of Emma, and you'll never see her again. Do you understand?" I couldn't speak. The pain, the shock, the horror of what he was saying, it was too much. I said, "Do you understand?" His hand moved to my throat, not squeezing, just resting there, a threat. "Yes," I choked out. "Good girl." He stood up and pulled out his phone. "I suppose I should call an ambulance. You look pretty bad." That's when I heard it, a small, broken sound from the top of the stairs. "Mommy?" "Emma." My 6-year-old daughter was standing at the top of the staircase, her face white, her eyes huge with terror. She was holding her iPad, the one she used for games and videos, and it was pointed at us. David's head snapped up. "Emma, I told you to stay in your room." "You pushed Mommy." Her voice was tiny but clear. "I saw you push Mommy down the stairs." The blood drained from David's face. "Emma, that's not what happened. Mommy fell. She was clumsy." "No." Emma shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "You pushed her. I saw you, and I recorded it." The world stopped. I saw David's expression shift from shock to calculation to panic in the span of 3 seconds. He started toward the stairs. "Emma, give me that iPad right now." But Emma was smart. She'd been watching me and David for months, absorbing the tension, understanding more than we thought. She turned and ran back into her room. I heard her door slam and lock. David took the stairs 2 at a time. "Emma, open this door." "No, I'm calling Grandma." My mother. Emma was calling my mother. Thank God for children's ability to understand danger, even when they can't articulate it. I heard David pounding on Emma's door, heard his voice rising as he tried to coax, then demand, then threaten her into opening it. But Emma had always been stubborn, and right now that stubbornness was saving both of us. I tried to move and gasped as pain shot through my back. Something was wrong. The pain in my abdomen was intensifying, cramping in waves. I felt wetness between my legs, and my hand came away bloody. "No, no, no, no!" I was losing Jacob. After everything, after that fall, my body was trying to expel my baby. I managed to pull my phone from my pocket with shaking hands. I called 911. 911. "What's your emergency?" "I'm 6 months pregnant. My husband pushed me down the stairs. I'm bleeding. I think I'm losing my baby. Please help me." The words tumbled out, clear and desperate. "Ma'am, I need your address." I gave it, hearing my voice shake. "Please hurry, and my daughter is locked in her room upstairs. He's trying to get to her. She recorded what he did. Please send police." "We're dispatching units now. Stay on the line with me." I heard sirens in the distance. Emma must have gotten through to my mother, or the 911 dispatch was incredibly fast. Either way, help was coming. David heard them too. He stopped pounding on Emma's door and came thundering down the stairs. He saw me on the phone and his face went purple with rage. "What did you do?" "I called for help, like you should have done." He lunged for my phone, but I rolled away, crying out as pain lanced through me. The 911 operator was still on the line, hearing everything. "Sir, step away from her. The police are pulling up now." He heard it too. The sirens were right outside. Red and blue lights flashed through the front windows. David looked at me, then at the door, then back at me. I saw him calculating whether he could destroy my phone, get to Emma's iPad, spin some story to the police. But it was too late. The door burst open and 2 Seattle PD officers rushed in, hands on their weapons. "Sir, step away from her." David raised his hands, his face transforming into an expression of concern and fear. "Officers, thank God you're here. My wife fell down the stairs. She's pregnant. She needs help." One officer kept his eyes on David while the other knelt beside me. "Ma'am, are you hurt?" "He pushed me," I said clearly. "My husband pushed me down the stairs deliberately. My daughter saw it. She recorded it on her iPad. She's locked in her room upstairs." The officer's expression hardened. "Sir, turn around and put your hands behind your back." "This is ridiculous. She fell. She's being hysterical." "Sir, turn around now. I want to call my lawyer." "You can do that after we secure this scene. Ma'am, where's your daughter?" "Upstairs. First room on the right." "Emma, honey, it's okay. The police are here. You can open your door." I heard her door unlock and her small feet running. She appeared at the top of the stairs, clutching her iPad, tears streaming down her face. "Mommy." "Stay right there, sweetheart," the officer said gently. "Don't come down yet. The paramedics need space to help your mommy." The ambulance arrived within minutes. The paramedics were professional and calm, but I could see the concern in their eyes when they assessed me. They asked questions I barely heard, focused on keeping me still, protecting my cervical spine in case of neck injury. "Ma'am, we're going to transport you to Harborview. You're having contractions. We need to get you to L&D immediately." I was loaded onto a stretcher. As they wheeled me out, I saw David in handcuffs protesting loudly about his rights. I saw Emma being led out by a female officer, still clutching her iPad like it was a lifeline. "Emma," I called out. She ran to the stretcher and grabbed my hand. "Mommy, I got it. I got everything on video. He can't say he didn't do it." Through my tears and pain, I felt a fierce surge of pride. My 6-year-old daughter had been braver and smarter than I'd ever been. "You're so brave, baby. So brave. Grandma's going to take care of you, okay?" "I want to come with you." "I know, but the doctors need to help the baby. You stay with the officer and Grandma will be here soon." The ride to the hospital was a blur of sirens and pain and fear. The contractions were constant now, my body determined to go into premature labor. At 26 weeks, Jacob's chances of survival were better than they used to be, but still frighteningly low. "Please," I prayed silently. "Please let him be okay. Let me keep one thing from this nightmare." At the hospital, I was rushed to labor and delivery. A team was waiting, and I was immediately surrounded by doctors and nurses and machines. They hooked me up to monitors, and I heard it. Jacob's heartbeat. Fast but strong. He was alive. "We're going to do everything we can to stop this labor," the OB on call told me. Her name was Dr. Patel, and her voice was steady and confident. "You've had significant trauma, but your vitals are stable. The baby's heart rate is good. We're starting magnesium sulfate to stop the contractions and steroids to help develop his lungs in case we can't stop labor." "Is he going to be okay?" "We're doing everything we can. But I need you to stay as calm as possible. Stress makes it worse." "Stay calm." My husband had just tried to kill me and my baby, and I was supposed to stay calm. But I closed my eyes and focused on breathing, on Jacob's heartbeat through the monitor, on the fact that help had come and Emma was safe and David was in handcuffs. The medication started working, the contractions slowed, then stopped. The bleeding decreased. Hour by hour, Jacob stabilized. By midnight, Dr. Patel told me the immediate crisis had passed. "You're not out of the woods yet. You need complete bed rest for the remainder of your pregnancy. This is high risk now, but your son is a fighter. He's not ready to give up." Neither was I. My mother arrived at 2 a.m, Emma asleep in her arms. She'd been allowed into my room because I refused to rest until I saw Emma with my own eyes. "Baby," my mother breathed, setting Emma on the chair and rushing to my bedside. "Oh my God, what did he do to you?" I started to cry then, really cry for the first time. My mother held me carefully, mindful of the IV lines and monitors, and I sobbed into her shoulder like I was a child again. "He tried to kill us, Mom. He pushed me down the stairs because he doesn't want this baby. He's been planning to take Emma from me. He's been documenting everything, building a case. Shh, shh. It's over now. He's been arrested. The detective told me they have witness testimony and video evidence. He's not getting out of this. He'll hire a good lawyer. He'll claim I fell. Rachel! My mother pulled back and looked me in the eyes. Emma recorded everything. The whole conversation, the push, him threatening you afterward. It's all on video. He's done. He's finished. If this story is making your blood boil like mine was, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss what happens next. Trust me, the revenge gets so much better. Your support means everything to this channel. I spent a week in the hospital under observation. Emma stayed with my mother but visited every day, bringing me drawings and telling me about school. She never mentioned the video or what she'd seen, and I didn't push. She'd process it in her own time with the therapist my mother had already found for her. David was being held without bail. The prosecutor had argued successfully that he was a danger to me and Emma, that he'd deliberately attempted to harm a pregnant woman, and that the video evidence showed premeditation. The judge agreed. My mother brought me updates because I couldn't bear to think about him too much. I had to focus on keeping Jacob safe, on staying calm and horizontal so my body wouldn't try to expel him again. But the updates she brought were satisfying in a cold, distant way. The police had searched our house and found David's evidence against me. Detailed logs of every time I was emotional or irrational. Records of my spending, annotated with his commentary about my financial irresponsibility. Notes about my inability to maintain our home to proper standards. It was a systematic, calculated campaign to paint me as an unfit mother and wife. They also found something else. Bank statements showing David had been siphoning money from our joint accounts into a secret account in his name only. Almost $200,000 over the past 3 years. And they found emails. Emails to a woman named Caitlin, his associate at the real estate firm. Emails going back 2 years, increasingly explicit, discussing their affair, their plans for a future together, his resentment of being trapped with me and the kids. Caitlin had known he was married. She'd known about Emma. She'd known I was pregnant. The emails showed she'd encouraged him to find ways to get free of me, that she'd been pressuring him to leave me to find a way to keep his money and his daughter while cutting me out completely. The prosecutors were considering charging her as an accessory, my mother told me. At minimum, she'd be called as a witness. David's perfect plan was unraveling spectacularly. My lawyer, recommended by my mother's friend, who specialized in family law and domestic violence cases, came to see me in the hospital. Her name was Jennifer Park, and she was a shark dressed in Armani. Mrs. Morrison, I've reviewed everything. The video, the police report, the financial records, the emails. This is one of the most clear-cut cases I've ever seen. She sat beside my bed, her tablet out, ready to work. Here's what we're going to do. We're filing for divorce immediately. We're requesting full custody of Emma with no visitation for David pending the outcome of his criminal trial. We're requesting full custody of Jacob when he's born. We're requesting the house, all Marshall assets, and substantial child support and spousal support. Will I get it? Barring some major surprise, yes. The video alone is damning. Add in the financial fraud, the affair, the documented abuse, and the attempted murder of a pregnant woman. He'll be lucky to avoid prison time. What kind of sentence is he looking at? For felony assault on a pregnant woman with intent to cause harm to the fetus, he could get 20 years. The prosecutor is pushing for the maximum given the premeditation shown in the video. 20 years. David would be 62 when he got out. Emma would be 26. Jacob would be 20. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no relief, just emptiness where my love for him used to be. There's one more thing, Jennifer said. Emma's video. It's powerful evidence, but it's also traumatic for her. The prosecutor wants to use it in court, but she'll need to be prepared, and you need to decide if you're comfortable with that. Will she have to testify? Possibly. Depends on what David's defense is. If he pleads guilty, no. If he goes to trial, very likely. The thought of Emma on a witness stand, reliving that trauma, made me feel sick, but I also knew justice required it. Whatever she needs to do, we'll support her, but she gets therapy, consistent therapy, no matter what. Agreed. I'll make sure that's written into any settlement. Settlement. Divorce. Single mother. These were my new realities. I was released from the hospital after 10 days, with strict orders for bed rest. My mother moved into the house with Emma and me, taking over everything. She cooked, she cleaned, she took Emma to school. She managed my physical therapy clients by finding them temporary coverage. She fielded calls from investigators and lawyers and reporters who somehow got my number. And she sat with me during the long, boring hours of bed rest, knitting tiny blankets for Jacob and listening to me process everything. I should have seen it, I said one afternoon. All the signs were there. Don't do that to yourself. Abusers are experts at hiding who they really are. But I'm educated. I work with trauma patients. I know the signs of abuse. It's always harder to see when you're living it. My mother set down her knitting and took my hand. You survived. That's what matters. You and both your babies survived. Because of Emma. Because you're strong. Because you called 911. Because you refused to protect him. Emma was brave, yes, but she learned that bravery from you. I wanted to believe her. Some days I did. Other days I felt like a failure, a fool who'd been manipulated for years. The divorce proceedings moved forward. David's lawyer tried to fight everything, but they had no ground to stand on. The video was irrefutable. The financial records were clear. The affair was documented. David filed a motion to have the video excluded, claiming it violated his privacy rights. The judge laughed and denied it. He tried to claim I'd manipulated Emma into recording it. The judge reviewed the video, heard Emma's clear, uncoached narration of what she was seeing, and threatened to hold David's lawyer in contempt if he brought such spurious motions again. He tried to claim the money he'd hidden was investment funds he'd kept separate for tax purposes. The forensic accountant tore that argument apart in 15 minutes. He tried to claim I'd been having an affair and Jacob might not be his. The paternity test came back 99% probability he was the father. Every tactic failed. Every lie was exposed. Every manipulation was countered. And through it all, I lay in bed, feeling Jacob grow and kick and move, knowing my son was going to survive despite his father's best efforts to kill him. 3 months after the attack, I went into labor. It was 2 weeks before my due date, close enough that Jacob had excellent chances. The labor was fast and intense, my body seemingly eager to expel this baby it had fought so hard to keep. My mother was with me, holding my hand. Emma was with my sister, waiting for news. And Jacob Samuel Morrison was born at 6:47 p.m. on a June evening, weighing 7 pounds, 3 ounces, with a full head of dark hair and lungs that announced his arrival with impressive volume. He was perfect, absolutely perfect. The doctors found no issues, no problems from the trauma, no lasting effects from the fall. He was a miracle. When they placed him on my chest, I looked down at his tiny, scrunched face and I cried, not from pain or fear this time, but from overwhelming love and relief. "Hi, baby boy," I whispered. "Hi, Jacob, Mommy's here. You're safe now, you're so safe." My mother took pictures, sent them to my sister and my lawyer, and even, at my request, to the prosecutor. I wanted David to see what he'd tried to destroy. I wanted him to see what survived. Emma met her brother the next day. She climbed carefully onto my hospital bed and peered at the tiny bundle in my arms with wonder. "He's so small. You were this small once. Can I hold him?" I showed her how to support his head, how to cradle him gently. She was so careful, so tender, gazing at her baby brother with pure love. "I protected him, Mommy. I protected both of you." "You did, sweetheart. You were so brave. Is Daddy ever coming home?" The question hung in the air. I'd been dreading it, knowing it would come eventually. "No, baby. Daddy made very bad choices. He hurt Mommy and tried to hurt Jacob. People who hurt others have to face consequences. Daddy's going to be in a place where he can't hurt anyone for a very long time." "Good." Emma's voice was fierce. "I don't want him to hurt you ever again. He won't, I promise." The trial was set for September. David's lawyer tried multiple times to negotiate a plea deal, but the prosecutor refused. This was going to trial, and David was going to face every consequence of his actions. I'd mostly recovered physically by then. The bruises had faded, my back had healed. I'd been cleared to return to work part-time. Jacob was thriving, a happy baby who loved to be held and rarely cried, but the psychological scars remained. I had nightmares about falling. I couldn't go near staircases without my heart racing. I'd installed a baby gate at the top of the stairs, even though Jacob was far too young to climb, just because I couldn't bear to look at those stairs without protection. The week before the trial, Jennifer called me to her office. Emma was with us because she'd been subpoenaed to testify. "Emma, honey, you know we're going to go to court next week, right?" Jennifer knelt down to Emma's level, her voice gentle. Emma nodded solemnly. She was 7 now, a little taller, a little more serious than she'd been before that terrible day. "The lawyers are going to ask you questions about what you saw that day, about the video you made. Can you tell me why you made that video?" Emma looked at me, then back at Jennifer. Daddy and Mommy were fighting a lot. Daddy was mean to Mommy. I wanted to show Grandma so she could help, so I started keeping my iPad with me and recording when they fought. My heart broke. She'd been documenting abuse for months and I hadn't known. That was very smart, Jennifer said. When the lawyers ask you questions, I want you to just tell the truth about what you saw and heard. Can you do that? Will Daddy be there? Yes, but he can't hurt you or your mom. There will be police officers and guards in the courtroom. You'll be very safe. Emma straightened her shoulders. I'm not scared of him anymore. I want to tell everyone what he did. 7 years old and fiercer than I'd ever been. The trial started on a Monday. The courthouse was packed. Apparently, domestic violence cases involving children's video evidence were newsworthy. I saw reporters, cameras, spectators filling every seat. David sat at the defense table in a suit that probably cost $3,000, trying to look respectable and sympathetic. He'd lost weight in jail. He looked tired and older. When I walked into the courtroom, his eyes found mine and I saw him flinch. Good. I wanted him to see what he'd failed to destroy. The prosecution's opening statement was devastating. They played Emma's video on a screen large enough for the entire courtroom to see. 14 minutes of clear audio and video showing David's rage, his accusations, his threats. And then the moment his hands connected with my chest and I fell backward out of frame. Then the sickening sounds of my body hitting the stairs. My screams, the crying, David's calm threat afterward, and Emma's small voice from the top of the stairs. You pushed Mommy! I saw you push Mommy down the stairs. I heard gasps from the gallery. I saw jurors' faces harden. I saw the judge's expression turn to stone. David's lawyer objected repeatedly, claiming the video was prejudicial. The judge overruled every objection. The jury is entitled to see the evidence, counselor. Your client put on quite a performance. They should witness it. I testified on the second day. I walked through our marriage, the progressive control, the isolation, the financial abuse. I described discovering the affair through the emails. I described the conversation before the push, his admission that he'd been documenting evidence against me to take Emma away. And then I described the fall, every terrible second of it, the pain, the fear, the blood, the certainty I was losing Jacob. Thank you for staying until the end. If this story gave you the justice you needed to see, check out the other videos on screen. They're just as satisfying. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? See you in the next story. David's lawyer tried to discredit me on cross-examination. He suggested I'd been emotionally unstable, that my pregnancy hormones made me irrational, that perhaps I'd fallen and later convinced myself David pushed me. So you're suggesting, I said slowly, that I threw myself down the stairs while 6 months pregnant, nearly killed my baby, and then fabricated an entire abuse narrative, complete with my 6-year-old daughter recording fake evidence? He backpedaled. I'm simply suggesting that memory can be unreliable under trauma. My daughter's video is reliable. Would you like to watch it again? The prosecutor smirked. The jury looked disgusted with the defense attorney. On the third day, Emma testified. She was so small in the witness box, her feet not even touching the floor, but her voice was clear and steady. The prosecutor asked her to describe what she'd recorded and why. Daddy was being mean to Mommy. He yelled at her and made her cry. He told her he was going to take me away from her. I got scared, so I got my iPad and I recorded them. What did you see happen on the stairs? Daddy pushed Mommy really hard. She fell all the way down and hit her head, and there was blood. Then Daddy said she should tell the doctors she fell by herself, or he would take me away from her forever. Did your Mommy fall by herself? No. Daddy pushed her. I saw it. It's on the video. David's lawyer declined to cross-examine. What could he ask? The video spoke for itself. The medical experts testified about my injuries, the premature contractions, the risk to Jacob's life. The financial experts testified about the hidden money and the systematic theft from our Marshall accounts. Caitlin, David's mistress, was called, and she tried to claim she didn't know he was planning anything, that their affair was just emotional support. The prosecutor destroyed her with her own emails, where she told David he needed to find a way to get rid of the ball and chain, and suggested he could claim I was mentally unstable to win custody. By the end of the week, David's defense was in shambles. His lawyer tried to put character witnesses on the stand, but they all admitted, under cross-examination, that they'd never seen the inside of our home, never witnessed our private interactions, only knew David's public persona. In closing arguments, the prosecutor was merciless. Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen the evidence. You've heard the testimony. You've watched the video. This was not an accident. This was not a misunderstanding. This was a calculated, deliberate attempt to murder a pregnant woman and her unborn child. Why? Because David Morrison wanted his freedom without the financial consequences of divorce. He wanted his mistress without child support for 2 children. He wanted to steal his daughter from her mother and claim full custody based on lies and fabricated evidence. And when his wife discovered his financial fraud and called him on his affair, he decided the easiest solution was to eliminate her and the baby she was carrying. She paused, letting that sink in. But he failed. He failed because Rachel Morrison survived. He failed because Jacob Morrison survived. And he failed because a brave 7-year-old girl named Emma had the presence of mind to document her father's crime and the courage to tell the truth about what she witnessed. Don't let him fail upward. Don't let him walk away from this attempted murder. Hold him accountable. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. When they came back, their faces were grim. Guilty on all counts. Felony assault with intent to cause great bodily harm. Attempted murder. Assault of a pregnant woman with intent to harm a fetus. Child endangerment. David's face went white. His lawyer slumped in his chair. Sentencing was set for 2 weeks later. I didn't go to the sentencing hearing. I couldn't bring myself to see him again. But Jennifer called me immediately after. He got 25 years, eligible for parole after 17. I did the math. Emma would be 24, Jacob would be 17, I would be 57. The judge said it was one of the most egregious cases of domestic violence he'd seen in 30 years on the bench. He said David Morrison showed no remorse, no accountability, and posed an ongoing danger to you and the children. He recommended no contact orders be maintained indefinitely even after release. I sat down heavily on my couch, Jacob sleeping in my arms. It's really over. It's really over. The divorce is final. The house is yours. You're getting 70% of all Marshall assets plus child support that will be garnished from any money he earns in prison. He has no custody rights, no visitation rights. Emma and Jacob are legally protected from him for the rest of their childhoods. I should have felt triumphant. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired and sad and grateful. Thank you, Jennifer, for everything. You're welcome. You were incredibly brave, Rachel, you and Emma both. After I hung up, I looked at Emma, who was doing homework at the kitchen table, and Jacob, who was starting to wake up from his nap. Emma, honey, it's over. Your dad was sentenced today. He's going to be in prison for a very long time. She looked up, her expression solemn. Good. Does that mean we're safe now? Yes, sweetheart, we're safe now. She nodded and went back to her math worksheet, like we'd just discussed the weather. Sometimes I forgot how resilient children were, how they could process trauma and move forward in ways adults couldn't. That night, I sat in the nursery with Jacob while Emma slept. I rocked him gently, watching his perfect little face in the soft glow of the nightlight. Your sister saved your life, I whispered to him. Before you were even born, she protected you. You're going to grow up knowing you have the bravest big sister in the world. Jacob yawned and snuggled closer to my chest, content and safe. The next few months were about building a new life. I went back to work full-time, hired a nanny, I thoroughly vetted, and started rebuilding my practice. My mother moved back to her own house, but visited several times a week, always bringing food and help and unconditional love. Emma thrived in therapy. She processed her trauma in art and play, gradually returning to being a normal 7-year-old who worried about homework and friends instead of protecting her mother from violence. Jacob grew into a happy, smiley baby who loved music and story time, and being held. He had David's dark hair, but my blue eyes, and none of his father's cruelty. I dated eventually, tentatively. It took me 2 years to trust a man enough to introduce him to my children. His name was Marcus, and he was a divorced dad of 2, gentle and patient and understanding about my trauma and boundaries. We took things incredibly slowly. The kids liked him. That was enough for now. Emma is 11 now. She plays soccer and takes piano lessons and wants to be a veterinarian. She remembers what happened, but it doesn't define her anymore. She's strong and confident and knows her own worth. Jacob is 4. He's never met his father and doesn't ask about him. He knows he has a daddy who made bad choices and can't be part of our family. That's enough for now. When he's older, I'll tell him the full story. He deserves to know the truth about how he came into this world and how close he came to not making it. As for me, I'm not the same woman I was when I was married to David. I'm harder in some ways, softer in others. I don't trust easily, but when I do, it's complete. I have boundaries now, hard lines that no one crosses. I know my worth, and I don't settle. I still have nightmares sometimes. I still have moments of anxiety when Jacob toddles too close. to the stairs even though they've been gated and protected since the day we came home from the hospital. I still flinch at raised voices, but I also have joy, real, genuine joy in my children, my career, my freedom. I have mornings where Emma makes pancakes with me and Jacob dances to music in his pajamas. I have evenings where we curl up together for movies and bedtime stories. I have a life that's mine, built on truth instead of lies, safety instead of fear. David will be released someday. He'll be an old man by then, and my children will be adults who can make their own choices about whether to have any relationship with him. I suspect they won't. Why would they? He tried to kill their mother. He tried to kill Jacob before he was born. That's not forgivable. Sometimes people ask me if I'm angry, if I hate him. I don't. Hate would require caring, and I don't care about David Morrison anymore. He's just a cautionary tale, a man who destroyed his own life through greed and violence. What I feel is gratitude. Gratitude that Emma was brave enough to record what happened. Gratitude that I survived. Gratitude that Jacob survived. Gratitude for my mother, for Jennifer, for the doctors and nurses and prosecutors who fought for us. Gratitude for second chances and new beginnings. This is my message to anyone watching this who sees themselves in my story. If you're in an abusive relationship, if someone you love is hurting you, if you're walking on eggshells in your own home, please hear me. It is not your fault. You did not cause this. You cannot fix them, and you deserve so much better. There are people who will help you. There are systems in place to protect you. It won't be easy. Leaving is the most dangerous time, but staying is slow death, and your children deserve to grow up without violence. Document everything. Keep records. Tell people you trust. And when the moment comes, when you see your chance to escape, take it. Be brave like Emma was. Be strong like you already are, even if you don't know it yet. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. They're available 24/7. They will help you make a safety plan. They will help you find resources. They will help you get out. Your life is worth saving. Your children's lives are worth saving. You are worth saving. I'm Rachel Morrison. I'm 35 years old. I'm a survivor of domestic violence and attempted murder. My 6-year-old daughter recorded my husband pushing me down the stairs while I was pregnant, and that video put him in prison for 25 years. This is my story. This is our story, and I'm sharing it with you because I want you to know that you can survive, you can escape, you can rebuild, and you can thrive. Thank you for listening. Thank you for witnessing. And please, if you're in danger, reach out today. Don't wait. Your life might depend on it. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment below. Share your story if you feel safe doing so, or just let me know you were here, that you heard this message. Every comment, every like, every share helps spread awareness about domestic violence and potentially saves lives. You are strong, you are worthy, you are loved, and you deserve so much better than what you're getting. There is a way out. There is hope. There's a future waiting for you where you're safe and free and happy. I believe in you. Now you need to believe in yourself. Stay safe. And please, if you need help, reach out today. We made it out. You can too. 5 years after the sentencing, I received a letter. It came to my clinic, forwarded through 3 different addresses David must have tried before finding one that reached me. The return address was Washington State Penitentiary. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. My hands didn't shake. I felt nothing but mild curiosity about what he could possibly have to say after all this time. The letter was 4 pages long, handwritten in David's familiar neat script. It started with an apology. He was sorry for what he'd done. He'd had time to reflect. Prison had changed him. He'd found faith, attended anger management, completed substance abuse programs, even though he'd never had a substance problem. He understood now how wrong he'd been. Then came the real purpose of the letter. He wanted to see his children. Not unsupervised, he assured me. Just letters at first, maybe phone calls eventually. He wanted Emma and Jacob to know their father. He wanted to be part of their lives in whatever way I'd allow. The letter ended with more apologies, more promises of change, and a plea for forgiveness. For the sake of the children, he wrote, they deserve to know their father. I read it twice, then fed it through my office shredder. Emma was 12 now, thriving in 7th grade. She played volleyball, had a close group of friends, and was already talking about which colleges she wanted to visit. She rarely mentioned David. When she did, it was matter of fact. My biological father is in prison for trying to kill my mom, was how she described him to new friends who asked about her family structure. Jacob was 5, starting kindergarten, obsessed with dinosaurs and space. He'd asked about his daddy exactly once. When he was 3, I'd told him his daddy had made very bad choices and hurt people, so he had to go away. Jacob had nodded, accepted it, and never asked again. Marcus, my partner of 3 years, was the only father figure he'd ever known. I wasn't going to disrupt their peace for David's conscience. 2 weeks later, another letter arrived, then another, then a fourth. Each one escalated slightly. The apologies became more desperate. The requests became demands disguised as pleas. He had rights as a father. The courts couldn't keep him from his children forever. I was being vindictive and cruel. By the 6th letter, the mask had fully slipped. He called me a manipulative witch who'd turned his children against him. He said I'd pay for poisoning them with lies. He said when he got out, he'd fight for custody and win because any judge would see I was an unfit mother who kept children from their father out of spite. I forwarded every letter to Jennifer and to David's parole officer, documentation of his continued threats, his inability to take responsibility, his persistent danger to our family. Each letter made it less likely he'd ever get early parole. The letters stopped after that. I assumed he'd been warned that his correspondence was hurting his chances of release, but I knew David. He wasn't done. He was just regrouping. I was right. 6 months later, David's mother, Patricia, called me. We hadn't spoken since before the trial. She'd sat in the courtroom every day, glaring at me like I was the villain in her son's story, as if I'd pushed myself down the stairs and coached Emma to lie. "Rachel, we need to talk about the children." Her voice was cold, imperious. "No, we don't. I have rights as a grandmother. You can't keep Emma and Jacob from me." "Actually, Patricia, I can and I have. You enabled your son's abuse. You called me a liar in court. You told reporters I was a gold digger who trapped David. Why would I ever let you near my children?" "They're my grandchildren. David made mistakes, but they shouldn't be punished for his actions." "They're not being punished. They're being protected. From him and from anyone who thinks what he did was a mistake. He tried to murder me and Jacob. That wasn't a mistake. That was attempted homicide." "You've always been dramatic. David said you exaggerated everything." I laughed, harsh and cold. Did he exaggerate the video? Did he exaggerate the 25-year sentence? Did he exaggerate my broken ribs and cracked vertebrae? If you'd been a better wife, none of this would have happened. There it was. The real Patricia, the woman who'd raised a son to believe violence was acceptable when women didn't behave correctly. "Goodbye, Patricia. Don't call again. Any further contact will be reported to my lawyer and added to the restraining order I'm filing against you." I hung up and immediately called Jennifer to make good on that threat. She filed for a protection order the next day. Patricia contested it, claiming she only wanted to see her grandchildren. The judge reviewed the history, listened to her blame me for David's crimes and her testimony, and granted the order for 5 years. Emma knew about the letters and the calls. She was old enough now to understand and be part of these decisions. "Do you want to have a relationship with your dad or grandmother?" I asked her one evening. "If you do, we can arrange supervised visits through the court. I won't stand in your way if it's what you want." Emma looked up from her homework, her expression thoughtful and mature beyond her 12 years. "Mom, I was there. I saw what he did to you. I heard what he said. He told you he'd take me away from you if you didn't lie. For him," she paused. "He never tried to protect me that day. He never checked if I was okay. He only cared about making sure I wouldn't tell the truth. That's not a dad. That's just a man who shares my DNA." "You might feel differently when you're older." "Maybe. But right now I don't want anything to do with him. And Grandma Patricia always made me feel bad about myself. She was mean to you, and she was mean to me too. She used to tell me I was too loud and too messy and too much like you, and she said it like it was an insult." Emma shrugged. "I don't need people like that in my life." I hugged her tightly. "You're incredibly wise, you know that? I learned from the best." 3 more years passed. Life was good, genuinely good in a way I'd never experienced during my marriage. Marcus and I got engaged. Emma was 15, captain of her volleyball team, honor roll student, applying to summer programs at universities. Jacob was 8, thriving in school, still obsessed with science, sweet and funny and kind. I'd built my practice into one of the most successful physical therapy clinics in Seattle. I'd written a book about surviving domestic violence and rebuilding your life that became a regional bestseller. I spoke at conferences, at shelters, at high schools about recognizing abuse and finding strength to leave. My life was full and rich and entirely mine. Then came the day I'd been dreading and anticipating for years. David's first parole hearing. Jennifer called me with the date. "You don't have to attend. I can submit written testimony on your behalf." "No, I'll be there. I want to look him in the eye and tell them exactly why he should stay in prison." Emma wanted to come too. She was old enough to make that choice. Jacob, we agreed, should be shielded from this. He didn't need to see David or be part of this process. The hearing was in a small, sterile room at the prison. David was brought in wearing prison blues, his hands cuffed in front of him. He looked older, much older than his 46 years. His hair was gray at the temples. He'd gained weight. But his eyes, when they found mine, held the same cold calculation I remembered. He went through his prepared statement. He'd changed. He was remorseful. He'd completed every program available. He'd found faith. He understood the magnitude of his crimes. He wanted a chance to rebuild his life, to potentially have a relationship with his children if they'd allow it. It was a good performance. If you didn't know him, you might believe it. Then it was my turn to speak. I stood, faced the parole board, and kept my voice calm and clear. 8 years ago, David Morrison tried to kill me and our unborn son. He pushed me down a flight of stairs because I discovered he'd been stealing money from our accounts and having an affair. He did this in front of our 6-year-old daughter. When I was lying at the bottom of the stairs, bleeding and begging for help, he threatened me. He said if I told the truth, he'd destroy me in court and take Emma away from me forever. I paused, letting that sink in. He failed to kill us only because Emma was brave enough to record what happened and smart enough to call for help. In the years since, he's written me dozens of letters. The first few pretended remorse. The later ones threatened me, called me names, blamed me for his imprisonment. His mother tried to contact me to demand access to my children and blamed me for David's violence. I looked directly at David. He was staring at the table. David Morrison is not remorseful. He's angry he was caught. He's angry his plan didn't work. He's angry there were consequences. If he's released, he will try to contact my children. He will try to manipulate them, and I believe he will try to hurt me again. He hasn't changed. He's just learned what to say to get what he wants. I sat down. Emma was next. She stood, 15 years old, but carrying herself with the confidence of someone much older. "I'm Emma. David Morrison is my biological father. When I was 7 years old, I watched him push my pregnant mother down the stairs. I recorded it because I knew he'd lie about it later. He did lie. He lied to the paramedics, to the police, to everyone." Her voice didn't waver. "I'm 15 now. He's written me letters asking me to visit him, to forgive him, to help him get parole. I've never responded because I don't have anything to say to him. He's not my father. A father protects his children. He tried to kill my brother before he was born, and he threatened to take me away from my mother. That's not love. That's control and cruelty." She looked at David, and I saw him flinch under her gaze. "I don't want him in my life. I don't want him near my brother. And I don't believe he's changed, because if he had, he wouldn't keep trying to force his way back into our lives. Someone who's truly remorseful accepts that some things can't be fixed and moves on." Emma sat down and took my hand. The parole board deliberated for 20 minutes. When they came back, their decision was unanimous. Parole denied. Next hearing in 3 years. David's face went white, then red. As they let him out, he turned to look at us one last time. The mask was completely gone. I saw pure hatred in his eyes. "This isn't over," he said quietly. "You haven't won." "Actually," I said, standing up, "I have. You just haven't accepted it yet." As we left the prison, Emma squeezed my hand. "Are you okay, Mom?" "I'm perfect, sweetheart. Absolutely perfect." 2 years after that parole hearing, Marcus and I got married in a small ceremony in our backyard. Emma was my maid of honor. Jacob was the ring bearer. My mother cried happy tears. Our closest friends and family celebrated with us. It wasn't my first wedding, but it was my first marriage built on truth, respect, and genuine partnership. Marcus had never tried to control me, never isolated me from my friends, never made me feel small. He loved my children, like his own, and they loved him back. I'd found happiness I didn't know existed. The kind where you don't walk on eggshells, where you don't monitor your words, where you can just be yourself and know you're loved exactly as you are. Emma graduated high school with honors and a full scholarship to Stanford. She wanted to study psychology and law to help other domestic violence survivors navigate the legal system. She was going to change the world. I had no doubt. Jacob was 11, starting middle school, still brilliant and kind. He called Marcus Dad now and had done so naturally for years. Marcus had never pushed it, never demanded it. Jacob just started saying it one day and kept saying it because that's who Marcus was to him. David became a distant memory, a cautionary tale, a man who'd destroyed his own life through violence and greed. He had 2 more parole hearings over the years. We testified at each one. Each time, parole was denied. He'd serve his full sentence, 25 years. He'd be 65 when he was released. Emma would be 32, Jacob would be 26, I'd be 67. My children would be fully grown adults who could make their own choices about whether to have any contact with him. I suspected they wouldn't. Why would they? They had everything they needed. A mother who loved them fiercely, a stepfather who chose them every day, extended family who supported them, happy, healthy lives. David was irrelevant to their story now. On the anniversary of the day he pushed me down the stairs, I did something I'd done every year since the trial ended. I took Emma and Jacob to our favorite spot on Alki Beach. We walked along the water, ate ice cream, talked about everything and nothing. "Mom," Jacob said as we watched the sunset paint the sky pink and orange, "I know today is the day the bad thing happened. Are you sad?" "No, sweetheart, I used to be, but now I see it differently." "How?" "Today is the day I learned how strong I really am. It's the day I learned that asking for help is brave, not weak. It's the day I learned that I could survive anything. And it's the day that led to everything good we have now." Emma put her arm around my shoulders. "It's the day I learned I could be brave too." "You were the bravest of all of us," I told her. "You saved our lives." "We saved each other," she said. We watched the sun disappear into the Pacific Ocean, the 3 of us together, safe and whole and free. I thought about the woman I'd been 11 years ago, trapped, afraid, manipulated, walking on eggshells in her own home. I barely recognized her. That woman had died on those stairs. The woman who rose from that fall was someone entirely new, stronger, wiser, free. I'd rebuilt my life from rubble. I'd protected my children. I'd found real love. I'd turned my trauma into purpose, helping hundreds of other women find their way out of abuse. David had tried to destroy me. Instead, he'd forged me into something unbreakable. That was my victory. Not the prison sentence, not the money, not even full custody. My victory was standing here on this beach with my children, happy and whole and free from fear. My victory was knowing that his worst day became my liberation. Some people say the best revenge is living well. They're right, but it's not just living well, it's thriving. It's building a life so full of joy and purpose and love that the person who tried to break you becomes nothing more than a footnote in your story. David Morrison is a footnote in mine, a cautionary tale, a lesson learned, a chapter closed. But Emma, Jacob, Marcus, the clinic, the women I help, the life I've built, that's the story. That's what matters. And that story has a very happy ending. To everyone watching this who's still in the middle of their nightmare, who's still trapped, who's still afraid, I want you to know something. The end of your story hasn't been written yet. You get to decide how it ends. You get to choose survival. You get to choose freedom. It won't be easy. The path from victim to survivor to thriver is long and hard and sometimes lonely, but it's worth every difficult step. Look at me. Look at my children. Look at the life we built from the ashes of the worst thing that ever happened to us. You can do this too. You are stronger than you know. You are braver than you believe. You are worthy of a life without fear, without violence, without someone telling you you're not enough. You are enough. You've always been enough. Call the hotline. Tell someone. Document everything. Make a plan. And when the moment comes, when you see your chance, take it. Save yourself. Save your children. Save your life. Because on the other side of that fear is freedom. On the other side of that pain is peace. On the other side of that nightmare is a life better than you can imagine. I'm living proof. My name is Rachel Morrison. I'm 43 years old. I'm a survivor, a mother, a wife, a business owner, an author, and an advocate. I was thrown down the stairs while pregnant, but I didn't stay down. I got back up. I fought back. I won. And you can too. Thank you for hearing my story. Thank you for witnessing my journey. And please, if you're in danger, don't wait. Reach out today. Your happy ending is waiting for you. You just have to be brave enough to reach for it. I believe in you. Now go believe in yourself.